Hello, it's Tuesday, August 30th, 2016, and as of this recording, I'm still depressed, but I'm not dead. Hey, I'm back with another episode of the Depressed Not Dead podcast. I appreciate everybody who's taking the time to listen to the show. I hope you all understand that. I hope it comes across how grateful I am that there are folks out there listening to the thoughts that I put out, the stories about myself, and really I essentially just eavesdropping on my own kind of personal therapy. So thank you so very much for taking time to download the show and listen to it. Thank you. Not just from the bottom of my heart, but from the whole heart, top to bottom. A little bit of news to start out this week. I've mentioned a couple times in previous shows, and I think I even featured in one of my little Hey Knowledge Tidbits. The chat room at the Sick Not Weak website it's shut down for now. It's hopefully temporarily, but we'll see. In a very personalized and very sincere vlog post, video, Landsberg, the guy who started up Sick Not Weak, gave a little bit of information about why they made the choice to shut it down. And essentially it came down to just having enough moderators to moderate the chat rooms during the already reduced times that they were open, 4 p.m. to midnight Eastern Standard Time. And I guess the way it sounds is that they had a good deal of moderators to help with that time frame. They were trying to get more folks lined up so that they could increase the hours during the day when the chat room was available. But it sounds like there was quite a bit of burnout for some of the moderators. And I can see that, right? These aren't educated people in mental health fields. They were just really nice folks who took some really basic rudimentary education through the website, Sick Not Weak, in how to moderate, help conversations keep going, maybe how to spot specific things that may be going on with individual people, watch out for bullying, things like that. So that pool of moderators was too far diminished for them to keep up with the chat room as it is right now. Hopefully they can restock some of those moderators. Maybe they'll come up with something else that's a little bit easier for them to keep going. So yeah, I just want to put that out there in case, if you weren't sure if you wanted to go after listening about it from a previous show. As of right now, they are not operating the chat room. There's still a ton of helpful information and whatnot from the website itself, sicknotweak.com. So go check that out. And if I hear anything about them opening up the chat room again, I'll be sure to let you guys know. And as always, a little bit of housekeeping. Want to make sure everybody knows how to get a hold of me. You can get a hold of me through email at jamoalki@gmail.com, facebook.com/jamoalki, on Twitter @jamoalki, and the ever-struggling blog, jamoalki.info. That's JAMOALKI. I would love to hear from anybody who wants to give me some feedback on the show, somebody who's got a story they want to share. I do the podcast. I don't really run the blog because it doesn't do a lot. But, I don't want to be just the voice of a podcast. If you guys have a story you want to share, send it to me, share. We figure out a way that we can communicate back and forth. Maybe on Facebook we can have a private chat or whatnot. Reach out to me if you've got something you want to get off your chest. If you've got, just want to make a connection for a little while one day, reach out to me. I would love it. I've got lots more stories myself to share and commiserate with. And really, a big part of what's come out of this podcast is me wanting to make sure that folks who do listen to the show understand that they're not alone, that there are probably countless ways that they can be in contact with somebody, to share what's going on with them, to realize that they're not alone in their journey. I'm working on a voicemail phone number that folks can call into if they want. Not quite sure why you would want to or how that's going to work just yet, but I've got an old Google Voice number laying around, and I just need to verify that it's all kosher and, all that. Maybe next week I'll be letting you guys know how you can dial up and let me hear your voice for a change. So I think that's all for the kind of housekeeping. So yeah, let's get to it. All right, so I mentioned last episode that I wanted to talk this time about anhedonia and how it relates to me, how it relates to some of the stories that I've told on the show, and just in general, kind of let people know what anhedonia is. Before the Sick Not Weak chat room got terminated is the wrong word, but before I got put on hold, I'd be in the room there and, use the term anhedonia. And without fail, every time I used it, 2 or 3 people were asking, what is that? So, let me tell you, it is, it's defined as a reduced ability to experience pleasure, right? So this is, one of the stereotypical first symptoms of depression that people look for when they're trying to diagnose it. It's an impaired ability to pursue, experience, and or learn about pleasure. When you're taking, if you take an online depression test, a screening, or if you go to the doctor and they think they should screen you for depression, or if you're a psychiatrist, there's always that one, and it's usually right up top 3 questions. Do you have little or no interest in things that used to be of interest to you? And that essentially is what the anhedonia is. It's a very big symptom for those with major depressive disorder like myself and many other things. And there's dysthymic, I'm sorry, I don't have that pronunciation, depression, which is just kind of a ongoing depression. Major depressive disorder is often characterized by having episodes of just gut-wrenching, awful, depressive times. And those are it's clearly something that I have struggled with. And dysthymic is more of a, not to say it's not as severe, but it's kind of just an ongoing, constant, continual depressive state. And so this anhedonia is also a symptom characterized, associated with that. I kind of wonder, I haven't seen anything that rules out kind of morbidity. Ooh, see, look at me trying to use big words. I haven't read anything that says you can't have both, but it seems I've read a bit in the DSM-5, I think we're at now. I don't know. I'll have to check that out too. Boy, look at me giving information. But as far as the dysthymic depression, it's something that generally isn't diagnosed in someone who is an adult because there isn't any documented symptoms of depression continuing through their life. And it generally is, I think, is seen as something you'd have your entire life. In early adolescence, it manifests. But I do kind of wonder if I'm somewhere I have kind of both of those going on, because clearly the major depressive disorder is something that is obvious to me and to those who have evaluated me. But I also wonder if I don't have some of this kind of just consistently ongoing as well. And mostly because for the past few years, mostly because of the past few years, I would say I've not really had any elevated uptime. And being low for that amount of time isn't it's not characteristic of major depressive disorder as I understand it. So anyway, there's kind of a tangent there for you. But so the anhedonia is basically, it personally for me, it keeps me from feeling pleasure. And you say, oh, hey, what is that? What so. Like, you don't like eating cookies or what? And it is kind of what it sounds. I think of it this way. Think about, if you get someone surprises you with a gift, right? That makes you happy. You're walking down the city street, you run into an old friend you haven't seen in months. and they greet you with a big smile, and, that makes you feel good. I don't really get that. I don't feel that. So this is kind of that kind of pleasure, that feeling of happiness, that feeling of maybe even euphoria. In my head, I kind of look at that as like the what we think of like physically, outwardly visible signs of pleasure are not things that I really feel. If I bump into, if I was just walking down the street of St. Paul and, my friend Dave popped out of the, out of the CVS under the street corner, yeah, I'd give him a big smile because that's what you do, right? And there's a lot of that in what goes on in my day-to-day life is more I'm, intellectually emoting my way through the day, right? And I think I mentioned this before, like, okay, smile here, smile there. And I'm good at that for maybe like the first smile, but I can't hold it. I don't, it feels wrong. It feels weird to me. Wrong probably isn't the word. It feels weird to me. And hey, airplanes keep seeming to go by outside, and I'm not really sure why. So I do apologize. I know in the last episode there was a lot of that going on. So I'm going to try to not talk while things are going by outside, but I probably won't catch them all, so I apologize. So yeah, so there's that kind of outwardly physical, kind of social aspect of it, which is clear, at least to me. But more specifically, the cause of anhedonia is, while it's still being studied, it seems to be all about the dopamine, right? And for those who don't know, dopamine is what's called a neurotransmitter. It's found in the brain. I think it's also a little bit throughout the body, but specifically for this situation, and most commonly when you hear about it, it has to do with it being in the brain as a neurotransmitter, which is, it's a chemical released by a neuron and able to send signals to another neuron. And so it does play a major role in the what's called the reward motivated behavior system. So that's the, do something, it feels good, you want to do it again. Do something, it feels good, you want to do it again. And it seems like there's a dysfunction there in a lot of folks who suffer from anhedonia. And, this is what kind of, addictive drugs kind of do this thing. You take whatever, cocaine, let's say, and it increases the amount of dopamine released in the brain. And so this feels good. And so your body wants more, and it wants more, and it wants more. And so that's how one of the ways that you become addicted to drugs is that this dopamine release is what your body is craving. In folks who don't feel pleasure, it's hypothesized and thought, and seems to be some evidence for it, that these dopamine pathways are not functioning as they should. So even though you do something that should is probably a strong word, but if these pathways were functioning properly and you did something, say, do a puzzle, it feels good to you without these transmissions going back and forth. Now you do that puzzle and you feel nothing. It's just, hey, you did a puzzle. And so this is a lot of blah, 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 I guess. But, if you're interested in such things, check it out. There's a lot of information out there. But essentially, anhedonia, no dopamine or less dopamine transmitting through your brain, so you're not feeling that reward stimulation. So how does this relate to me? I know you're all asking. So, stereotypically, there's the things that I used to enjoy doing. I used to enjoy playing basketball. I used to enjoy watching basketball. Reading. I can remember times when I had 3 books that I was reading simultaneously. I would have one that I read while I was at work, one that I read while I was exercising, riding a bike, which I do now still. And then one I read, just as I was kind of going, a bedtime book. So I'd have 3 books going simultaneously. Just kind of even watching TV shows, interacting with others, be it at work or with friends. Just, I was never the social butterfly, but just that, hey, okay, I'm going to go interact with this person and help them out a little bit. And, that would feel good. Listening to music. I know I've mentioned this Graydon Square. I did that one episode. And that's about the only music I listen to now. I don't really get any enjoyment, I guess, out of listening to music. I find what he does interesting, but other than that, no. Playing computer games. I used to love to play this game Civilization, and I play it now, as kind of a time suck, as a way to kind of get through parts of the day. Nora and I will play it together, and I appreciate that time that we spend together doing that and that kind of common interest. And there, days when I'll sit down and play it for 3 hours, but not because I'm getting anything from it other than kind of getting past through the day. There have been times that I've played it to distract myself from the negative thoughts. There's been days when I felt like, hey, playing that game was me being active for the day, and whatever. And a couple other games. But really, I don't get anything out of that anymore. You really used to enjoy kind of learning things, listening to people talking, reading things. Now it's, and part of that I think now is my inability to focus very well, but I don't seek it out anymore. And that may be a chicken egg kind of thing, being able to focus or not, or getting something from the learning, I don't know. And, specifically as it relates to, why I wanted to talk about this from the last episode, is that the wedding and that whole trip, and how intellectually, how wonderful I know that trip was, having all the kids and families and friends and, at the beach and at the other beach and sunrises and sunsets and, marrying Nora in front of our friends and family. I feel like I should have been just thrilled, right? And I mentioned Nora had some anxious times about that, but, that comes with it, I guess. But someone would ask, hey, are you excited about tomorrow? And I would say yes and smile. But I wasn't. And, this is going to sound terrible. And Nora, sweetheart, if you make it to this episode, again, I apologize. But I never felt that. I never, I wasn't ever nervous about it. I wasn't ever excited about it. I wasn't ever, it wasn't, it didn't, it's tough to say, I guess. The event, the week didn't bring me pleasure. It didn't bring me displeasure, which I guess is the positive side of it, right? If I can't feel that pleasure, but there was no part of it that brought me displeasure, I guess that's the win, right? That's my version of being happy right now. I don't know. But, I clearly remember being, at the house we rented, and, my mom coming up and saying, hey, are you excited about tomorrow? Or, one of the kids saying, oh, how excited are you? Or someone from Nora's family saying, wow, this is an exciting week, huh? And I smiled. I said, yeah, you bet. But I never really felt it. It wasn't there. And it was really, really remarkable to me in that situation that I didn't feel anything. And I felt badly about it. I felt guilty about it. Even now I feel guilty about it. It makes it sound like I'm a horrible person, I think, but I don't think I am. I even went so far, and we have these online tests for things, right? You can screen yourself for depression or anxiety or blah, blah, blah. And I actually did like 2 or 3 different screenings for like being a sociopath, and wondering, is that me? And it's just an online screening, but I came up on the low end for those, so I am not a sociopath in theory. But yeah, it was that kind of remarkable to me that I didn't kind of feel that. So yeah, so now I'm going to get into the speculative stuff here about anhedonia. And a lot of this comes from a discussion I had with someone from the DBSA group that I go to. And I think I mentioned that we started, or we're trying to start, kind of getting together on the off weeks, just as a way to get people out of their house more, and meet more kind of socially. So this last Wednesday was one of those off weeks where we didn't have a structured meeting affiliated with DBSA. So we had planned on getting together at this coffee house. I had 3-4 weeks ago, when I was just coming back with my girls here to Minnesota. I'd organized them to meet at the coffee house, and it sounded like 4 or 5 people showed up, and it was really good. So we kind of loosely made plans to meet again at this coffee house. So I got there, and only one other person showed up, which it's neither here nor there, I suppose. But it did force a lot of one-on-one conversation between this person and myself, because we didn't want to just, hey guys, come at 7, and at 7 it's just us. Well, we want to give people half hour, 45 minutes to show up yet. So we were doing some talking, and that is really tricky for me to do that much talking one-on-one, where I can't kind of hide in the masses, things like that. But we started talking about this kind of anhedonia thing, and this is something that they had quite a bit of experience with, and they were talking about kind of what I had expressed and shared the week before at our official meeting, which is basically what my last show was about. And so we started talking about anhedonia, and how we kind of see it affecting more than just what we seek pleasure from. You get the, people come up and say, hey, okay, you're feeling really bad, and things are really rough. Well, is there something you can hang on to? Is there something that you like to do? My response to that now is, I don't know. I don't know if I like to do that or if I like to do that. Everything is just, well, I guess not everything, but, most things are just kind of meh. Okay, I did that. Cleaning out latrines or cleaning out porta potties probably would be something that would be unpleasurable for me. So I think I could set aside some things that I know I don't want to do, but I enjoy doing anything? And I guess philosophically I must, right? But if that kind of dopamine connection isn't happening, do I? And I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that. But so one of the coping things, and I mentioned this when I was talking about safety plans, something that is calming, something that feels good, and I don't have that. And so then we kind of were talking about this as far as like personally, kind of knowing what to do day to day, knowing how to act day to day, knowing if I'm doing the right thing day to day, because I think it's classical learning where, you do something and it feels good. And so was the right thing to do, helping another person, or, just obeying the speed limit, or holding a door for someone. Those are things that should give you a little bit of pleasure that you did that. That's a good thing. And so it reinforces that and you keep doing it. I think holding a door open for someone doesn't give me any pleasure. I do it because that's what my dad taught me. And intellectually, I know it's the right thing to do. And, give me a reason why holding the door for someone is the wrong thing to do. I don't think you can. But without getting that kind of pleasure center boost, how do you kind of know how to navigate your day? How do you prioritize things once you get past the intellectual kind of things, right? I mean, people have to eat, people have to, in my household, Nora needs to be able to get to work every day. She needs to be able to come home and relax every day. The kids need kind of their structure to kind of not kill themselves throughout the day, things like that. So intellectually, I can figure those things out. But aside from that, how do I prioritize what I'm supposed to do each day? I don't know. It seems so clear when we were talking about it, and as I was thinking about it before I hit record, but it's kind of fuzzy right now. And this goes, and I can get even more existential with you on this stuff, right? How do I even know right from wrong? If I feel lousy all the time, then how do I know if I did something right? How do I know if I do something and let's say I still feel bad after doing it? Does that mean that I did the wrong thing? Or does that mean that I just have no feelings on it? That if I, I don't know, let's go crazy. If I walk down the street and I punch a guy in the face and I don't feel any different than I did before I punched him in the face, or I don't feel really any different than if I, gave him a pat on the back because I don't feel any pleasure from giving him a pat on the back. And I know punching someone in the face is wrong, but I hope you understand, like, there's that kind of moral compass thing that, you get some of that from your upbringing, but at some point you become your own person and you make decisions based on how they make you feel. And I don't know that I have that. I don't have that good feeling because I did this. I don't have that good feeling because I did that. So I really feel like I'm going off the rails here. So anyway, so seemingly I've spent so much time in my life kind of feeling this way. Not all of it, I'm sure, because like I said, I used to enjoy those things: basketball, reading, TV, hanging out with friends, stuff like that. So, but how do I kind of start getting back into doing things to move forward? If I pick up a tennis racket and I go play tennis 4 times and I never feel good about it, do I stop? That's not proof now that it wasn't something that I would enjoy normally. If I start collecting coins and, I don't feel good about it, it becomes frustrating and it turns into something that's kind of silly in my head. And, well, geez, why am I doing this if it doesn't feel good? And I think this is kind of linked in with, how I kind of always minimize what I do for myself, and I don't know if it's a kind of a chicken or the egg thing here as well. Like, do I minimize what I do because I don't feel kind of pride or pleasure from the things I do? Or, did I stop feeling that kind of pride and pleasure and whatnot from doing things because I mentally would kind of undress myself about, well, that's not the right word. Or is it because, when I did something that should make me feel pride or feel good or feel hopeful, that whatever this disorder is that's making me kind of diminish anything that I did is that perpetuating me not feeling good about myself? Hey, if you understood what I just said and you can parse that out, send it back to me. So I think I lost myself there. But so let's say I write a best-selling novel, right? NaNoWriMo is coming up, National Novel Writing Month. Let's say I pound out a book and I get it published, self-published, and somehow it just catches fire on Amazon, and I'm number 1 for a week at whatever the genre is. If it doesn't feel good to me because all that happened, should I be proud of it? Because I don't know that I would be proud of it. I think I would think, oh, well, I could have done it better. And maybe that's a little bit too big. Let's just say it's a parenting moment, right? Like, my youngest does something out of line, and I have a conversation with her and we discuss it, and, I impart some wisdom to her and she gets it and she apologizes to whomever what she did, and that's it. And we move on. That's a win, right? But if I don't feel good about it because of the anhedonia, then is that why I minimize it and still think I'm a bad parent? Or is it the faulty thinking that makes me think I'm a bad parent? Is that what keeps me from feeling good about that? I don't know. I probably should have wrote this stuff down before I started going. But so I think it's coming through that, I'm not even at a crossroads. I feel like I'm at a dead end, right? That I don't know where to go from here. I had my struggles, documented struggles throughout the past years and years. But just the past a couple weeks ago when I was feeling really, really down and was working on that plan, I think I've bounced back from that fairly well. So I'm at a point again where I feel like maybe I'm kind of winning the battle, but I don't know how to keep moving forward from here. Sometimes I wonder is this it? Is this where I'm going to be? Is this, feeling kind of numb all the time, but not wanting to kill myself? Is that life for me? And, so I'm at this dead end where, it feels like a dead end. It probably isn't, but I don't know where to go from there. I don't know how to spread out and how to open myself up for increased improvement and wellness. I feel like I need things that I can intellectually measure to know that I am being productive or I am doing something good. And I think, I got back into this dieting and running thing. All of 8 days now, woohoo. But I committed to dieting and losing weight. I'm going to lose 50 pounds. That's my plan. And along with that, I'm trying to do more running and have a more solid plan. Not entirely because of this race that's coming up in 6 weeks, 7 weeks, but just it's a metric for me that I can follow. I last Sunday I decided that it was time to lose weight, right? So did I talk about this? Maybe I did. I made that spreadsheet that I can track my weight and my BMI and all this and that and calories ate and things like that, body measurements. And I've recently added, running pace to that. So, I told myself until I get to 220, I'm not going to do much running outdoors. I'll do treadmill running. And so right now I'm, trying to get myself to a under 10-minute mile pace. So I'm tracking that. And dieting, I can get on the scale. I can see if I'm losing weight. I can quantify calories eaten. I can loosely quantify calories output, and so I can intellectually see progress. I can intellectually see success. And I'm taking that as what I'm going for right now. That's what the thing that I'm into right now, because I can measure it without feeling it, because I don't know that I could feel the success. I don't anticipate feeling good when I go down, a belt hole size, or, a shirt fits better than it used to. I'm even taking pictures of me in my gear that I ran my half marathon in. And so, I'll do one of those, little videos or animated GIFs about, hey, look at my weight loss. And there's a picture of me looking really sausage-like in my shirt, and then a little less sausage-like, and then a little less sausage-like, and then, oh, it almost kind of fits, and, on and on and on. But yeah, so dieting and running, that's kind of what I've got going on right now, because I can intellectualize it. I don't have to emotionalize it, I guess. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at, and hopefully I made some sense here. I don't know. I go back to edit this, I may find I have to do maybe a retake or something. For those of you who made it all the way through, thank you. Again, thank you. Please, hey, drop me a line, hit me up on Twitter or Facebook or whatnot. Yeah. Oh, and also, if depending on where you get the podcast from, please give me a rating, 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars. As you know, it won't be to kind of pump up my ego, because I won't recognize it anyway. It's just a way to get the show more visible. So if you think that there's something helpful or positive about this show, and you think others might get something from it as well, give me a 5 stars or 4 stars if that's the max. And that will get the iTunes searches, the Google Music searches, the Stitcher searches. It'll make the show rise up a little bit higher if someone's searching specific keywords. Thanks if you can do that. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being out there and being wonderful. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Everybody be safe and be well. Hang on, big plane going by.